As an academy owner, you work hard to build trust with your students, their parents, and your community. But trust isn't something you claim, it's something you prove and earn. That's where Academy Safe comes in. We help academies like yours stand out with verified safety standards. Background checks for all staff, U.S. Center for Safe Sport certification, concussion training, defibrillators on site, CPR, first aid and AED certification, security cameras, rank and lineage checks, and verification of business insurance. Join the trusted martial arts registry that's redefining safety throughout North America. Lead by example. Show parents you're accredited with Academy Safe.
Hello, and welcome to My Empty Hands, a podcast about the martial arts, typically focused on Kempo, but we give love to all the martial arts around here. As always, I am Reggie Darden, and I have another wonderful guest with me today, Mr. Martin Seck. And we are going to get into his journey and in Kempo and weapon making, knife making, all that good stuff, and whatever other rat holes we fall into, we'll go that way as well. I usually start things off by giving my background. I currently train in 5 different martial arts: American Kempo, Capoeira, Hapkido, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and Muay Thai. I also have some experience in Taekwondo and did a little bit of boxing in the Army as well. So I stay busy with all of that and doing the podcast and the day job and life, but it's fun and I can't get enough. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we're going to now turn it over to our guest here and go ahead and tell me and the listeners and possibly viewers as I make my journey into doing video for the show, but. Go ahead and fill us in on how Kempo found you, how the martial arts found you, and where it all started.
Sure, sir. Sounds like with your background, I should be interviewing you, though. But
you can. I'm always available. Somehow I'm always available to be on shows as well.
yeah, exactly. Let's see. Well, I started training in 1975. I was a child or young child at the time, 6, 7 years old, and that's not a reference for the modern youth, the 6, 7 thing. Sorry about that. But anyway, I was watching television, and I was up a little late that night for school, and I happened to see Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris fighting in the Return of the Dragon movie, which we had, was brand new on TV back then. And, as we didn't have cable TV, it was a different world. But I had never seen anything like that. It was just incredible to me to watch this smaller man, defeat this villain. And I remember going to school the next day, talking to my friends, and I said, "Did you see that? Chuck Norris killed Bruce Lee on TV for real. Like, I saw it." You're a little kid, you believe in this stuff. And, we're all talking about it. And my parents were big into sports, and we ended up going to, I want to say it was like a local high school basketball game. And in the midway through, there was a martial arts demonstration. And there were some karate guys doing like brick breaking and stuff. And I was just blew my mind. And at that point, like, I had to do it. I was hooked. Even though I was doing other sports and stuff at the time, I asked my dad, I said, I really want to train in karate. And, this again, 1975 as a little kid, for me, karate, kung fu, all that, there was no difference. It was all the same thing. It was a martial art. I didn't understand that there were differences between, that type of stuff. I just imagined it was all just one giant conglomerate of, this fantastic thing that I had seen these people do. So my dad did some research, found a martial arts school that was local. He was a certified public accountant, and the worst part about karate for me is when we would go to class, he would test me on my times tables. So I never liked the drive to karate, but once I was,
Very nice.
yeah, once I was there, I loved it. So that was with a gentleman named Sam Justice. I've been blessed to maintain contact with him up until this day. He's in his 80s now. He's in Richmond, Virginia area. I've gone up and seen him a few times. And he actually informed me that just this past June was my 50th anniversary in the martial arts. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, I was really blessed to, that's one of the great things about the internet. Not only can people like you and I connect and share this passion we have, but we can maintain contact with folks that, from our past. So he started my martial arts journey. And my parents moved quite a bit when I was younger. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue training with him. So when we would move, again, I was kind of looking for, again, a martial art. I didn't really understand too much until I was probably about 16, that the difference in styles and such. So I have a background as well in some of the Korean systems. I actually have a Kukkiwon 5th Dan in Taekwondo, and I also have some Hapkido and Gumdo training. In addition to Wing Chun, 9 years under Randy Williams, who's a pretty well-known Wing Chun practitioner. But the vast majority of my martial art and what I call my home is American Kempo. So I didn't find that until about 1980, in the early 1980s, maybe 2, 3, 4, somewhere around that time. And I trained in South Florida under a guy named Reggie Toussaint, who was a student of Mike Allen. And later on, I found Reggie taught kind of a hybrid version of American Kempo. He had pulled in some of his different arts that he had studied at that time. But, we had done blocking set and short form 1 and some things like that. And a blocking set was just so cool. I mean, what a cool way to practice, that pattern. I was like, man, this is really neat. It isn't just a school where they're saying, inside block, and then you're doing that, but now I've got this set that I can take home and kind of train and practice with. And Reggie was a very well-known fighter in the internationals. In fact, one of the promotional videos for the internationals, Ed Parker mentions him by name, and they have him landing an axe kick on a competitor. So he was very, very talented fighter. Probably about 10 years older than I was. Not too far away from me in age, but just had this reputation of being a tremendous fighter. And that's one thing, not only did I appreciate the Kempo and the science behind it, but he could apply it in the ring. And that was something that, as a smaller person, back then at least, I fought lightweight in the 1984 U.S. Open, so at 148 pounds. That's a long time ago.
No, I'm right there with you. Just one thing I wanted to make sure. I apologize if I didn't catch it before or you mentioned it before. So that first teacher that was not Kempo or
Correct. Yeah, he called it American Shotokan. So it was an American style karate based on his military service. He had learned, Shotokan karate, if you want to say it the proper way, during, I believe he was Army as well. I served a short time in the Navy in the late 1980s, and I had some opportunity to train. But again, it was just what they had on base. It wasn't, I didn't get to go pick and choose. It was just train or not train. So I'd rather train because there's value in motion. And I believe it is about the practitioner more than the system in most cases. And I think you would probably agree with, if it's a science-based system, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu would be, and like American Kempo would be, principles, concepts transfer across systems. One of the things I found really interesting in my journey, I wanted to do some Wing Chun because the wooden dummy fascinated me, and that's one of the things I really wanted to mess with. And in the early days, I messed with American Kempo techniques on that. And I do have a YouTube channel with some of that stuff on there from, 10, 15 years ago. And I've started reposting on that some of my knife work. And we can talk about that in a little bit. But when I started learning some of the Wing Chun stuff, the principles and concepts were almost identical to the American Kempo concepts and principles, with just slight name changes. In fact, one of the techniques that Randy Williams showed me was almost exactly 5 swords in American Kempo. So when I saw that, I was like, man, that's kind of interesting. So I did a little bit of research on that, and it turns out that Ed Parker and Bruce Lee were really good friends. And they, I don't want to say inceptions of their system, but when they started to build their systems and add some, meat to the bone, so to speak, they exchanged information 100%. In fact, Ed Parker Jr. told me once when I was visiting him that Bruce Lee used to call his house. So like as a kid, he's, hey, oh, Dad, it's Bruce Lee for you. How crazy would that be for
Yeah, for sure.
But for him, like that was just his daily thing. His dad's this famous grandmaster, and he was the host and presenter of the internationals, which at that time was the largest event in the world. And he introduced Bruce Lee to the world stage in 1966, which is kind of where, all that kind of came from. So I believe that they exchanged information with their respective systems. And I think some of the Wing Chun Jeet Kune Do bled over into American Kempo. And I think some of the American Kempo bled back into some of the stuff that they were doing. Randy Williams also trained Jeet Kune Do under Ted Wong, so it would make sense to me that some of the American Kempo concepts and stuff he would have been influenced by that as well. So just kind of really cool how all that kind of goes together. And again, back to, I would train with anyone in any system because I can see the value in it. One thing that the American Kempo system teaches us, not to sound egotistical in a way, but we do study motion at a deeper level, I think, than some systems do today or some practitioners do today, because to no fault of theirs, they probably weren't taught to look at it. The instructor says, execute this technique like this, you execute it that way. Maybe it's early in your journey and you don't know what questions to ask. But, I could look at someone practicing a system that maybe I've never studied, and if I watch them do one of their kata or pumse or whatever their form is, I could probably give them some pointers on power principles or concepts that may help them with their stances or the execution of the technique within their form. And it could potentially, if they're open-minded to listen to it, it could potentially help improve their existing martial art, even without me knowing that particular kata. Because, foot position is important, and a lot of times you'll see practitioners what we call happy feet, where their feet start moving a little too much, right? Where we were supposed to stay rooted. First rule Kempo, establish a solid base. So you may see that, and again, I actually watched this happen with, I don't want to name names, too many names here, but I'll name this one. So Rich Hale was doing a seminar that I was invited to observe. Due to insurance reasons, I was not allowed to participate, unfortunately, but that's okay. So he was observing them perform their kata. And one of the things, again, he didn't know this form, but it was kind of neat to see, this is something I had done before and my instructor had taught me. I didn't know Rich was going to do this or Mr. Hale was going to do this during this, but he started talking about those things like, oh, wash out the feet, the hat. I don't know your form, but you're doing this with your foot. Try this, try that. And it just kind of, to see these, they were kind of a cousin system of American Kempo, but to kind of see them get this aha moment like, wow, I never thought about that before. And all like on the fly, he helped them with their own form to improve it. And these, this gentleman that was performing at the time was a black belt. So it's kind of neat to see like, hey, this guy, he's earned his black belt in this cousin system. And he was able to get improvement from a guy that, didn't necessarily even know his particular form, but understanding concepts, principles, and the study of motion, he was able to help kind of improve him.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of Kempo in that, and you kind of touched on this, but the concepts and the principles, it isn't just Kempo specific. I know in my training, using the Kempo principles and concepts have applied very well in the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu that I'm doing, in the Hapkido, and I've been able to enhance the techniques and uh, just really get into a different kind of flow and be able to look at things in a different kind of angle instead of just doing, okay, well, I'm doing this self-defense technique in Hapkido the Hapkido way, but I can enhance those techniques when I apply the Kempo principles, and with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, manipulating the height, width, depth is, I mean, that's all over the place in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Same thing with Muay Thai, the movements, uh, and then also having that cross pollination using. Uh, I think of many times when I taught capoeira for a lot of years, and um, one of the things that I would do is some of the kind of boxing footwork drills that I did. I would incorporate those into the capoeira, explaining that, hey, you have to use your feet. You have to kind of watch their body, watch their shoulders, and things like that, and that would help people understand how to do the movement. So having that, not just taking the moves themselves at face value, that those techniques and whatnot at face value, and looking not just the how but the why we do the things that we do. It makes all the difference in the training. So yeah,
Oh,
I really
absolutely.
like that.
Yeah, understanding the why is important. It brings us from being mimicry to actually understanding things behind the scenes almost. And when you look at stuff like the universal pattern or the Kempo yantra, and you see this really cool thing, and when you envision it in a 3D model where it's actually a globe shape as opposed to a flat image, you understand that the beauty of what's hidden in this symmetry that was created by greater men than myself, but they gave it to us to help us study. And I guarantee you 100% every system that you study, we could take a look at those two symbols and we could find every motion that you're performing within those symbols 100%. So it's kind of it's a tool that was given to us to encourage us to continue our study, and maybe look a little deeper within to say, all right, well, I see this really neat thing, but where where can I find this motion? Oh, wait, there's a plus here, or there's an X, there's a figure eight pattern, there's all kinds of stuff hidden within there. And I guarantee you, I mean, I've yet to not find a technique that's hidden within the symbolism. So it's pretty cool. And I 100%, even though I have not done jujitsu with the exception of a few seminars, I can appreciate the value of it, and I can definitely see from watching it on TV and things like that in competition where science and physics, it was 100% applied in the system. And again, I see it as it's Kempo on the ground, as far from someone like my perspective, and someone who's a jiu-jitsu practitioner that maybe transitioned to studying some American Kempo might go, oh, this is jiu-jitsu standing up, which is, and again, I love that about the martial arts, how we can kind of make these tie-ins together,
Yeah, exactly. Well, as a person that's training in both, like that's a spot on observation. I know with the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's so many submissions and holds and things that we do that just a small little tweak on an angle or just a positioning, a body positioning makes all the difference between whether or not a particular submission or hold or lock or whatever works or doesn't. Or one little tweak will make okay, this is kind of choking me, to, oh, I'm about to pass out.
yeah.
And it's crazy, the just the smallest little pieces, and that all goes back to the 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 logic, the concepts, the principles, the the why versus, okay, this is how you do an arm bar. And it's like, well, it works because of these things. And and you're just doing it on the ground. Same thing with Kempo. There are techniques that we do that, okay, just that slightest little change, that little angle, and then once again, uh, uh, getting that personalization both in Kempo and in Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
A move that may work well for somebody like me may not work well for the next person because of my body, the way that I
Mhm.
move and the way that they move. And
Yeah.
yeah, there's so many similarities, and you can just look at them, and people want to get into these fights. Oh, well, jiu-jitsu wouldn't work in the street and this and that, and Kempo wouldn't work in this. And then it's all the same thing, just different perspectives. So
100%, 100%. And when you look into the patterns, like I was saying before, a straight line, a vertical line, if I actually rotate the line, it becomes a horizontal line directly towards you. So what is that? That's standing up versus on the ground, right? And that's just one small portion of what we can see within the patterns. So I know a lot of the, well, not a lot, but some of the first generation Kempo masters and grandmasters, maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago, started to incorporate things, Kempo on the ground. Jeff Speakman's 5.0 is one that did it relatively well, I believe. I haven't studied it directly, but I have met Mr. Speakman, and I've trained at a few seminars with him. I have friends that own franchise schools under him, and I greatly appreciate what he's done with his journey. Larry Tatum had done some stuff with that as well. I did have a Larry Tatum LTKKA franchise in the early 2000s. So I'm still good friends with Master Tatum today. In fact, he's a big fan of some of my knife work that I've been doing. And it's always great to get feedback like that from some of the first gens. I'm remiss if I don't continue to talk a little bit about my modern Kempo, because I know we kind of got a little off. We're still on topic because we're talking about Kempo, but
Yeah.
there's
No,
so
I'm
much.
I'm very much known for jumping around and stuff a lot, and because I don't a little peek behind the curtain as
Yeah,
much as I probably should as a interviewer. I should do my research and stuff before my guests, but I don't do that, and uh, for
hey,
good or for bad,
having a
it is.
conversation is a great thing, and just having a organic communication with someone, I think, is fantastic. I was interviewed once for after being on Forged in Fire, and I was a corporate trainer for 25 years before I retired. So instruction, and I taught martial arts for a very long time. I'd have to really do the math on how long. And it's kind of interesting. I was interviewed by these people, and I guess they had done research, but some of the stuff that they kind of just let me talk about, I had answered all their questions within about 10 minutes. That they had preset questions. Now that I
Mhm.
didn't get them beforehand, I didn't know what the questions would be, but I had just in speaking organically, I had answered them, and they're like, I could see the interviewer get kind of like, I really don't know what to say now because you've answered all the questions we had set up for you. So I think the format you have is probably honestly a better format because you can, it's just two people that are, have a kindred spirits in the martial arts that are talking. I feel that just comes across better anyway.
Yeah,
But
I agree. I like that.
yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to jump forward 20 or 30 years, 20 years. Yeah. And so I was at an event, and I've known Grandmaster Sean Kelly for a long time. He was recently promoted to 10th degree. I've known him since the early 80s. I used to come up and spar with his people and himself. He was known as a good tournament fighter as well, and he was one of the early pioneers of bringing Mr. Parker to the East Coast. Manny Reyes Sr. also did that from the 70s, and I lived in South Florida at the time, if I haven't said that. And I would go up and spar with Mr. Kelly and his students. And again, I fought in the '84 U.S. Open during that time. But one of the greatest things that he did is he would bring people together from different Kempo associations. He would have camps, and it didn't matter if you were IKKA or LTKKA or IKCA or Mr. Mills Association or Mr. Pick's Association. He would bring people together that normally you may not see in one venue unless you were in part of their group. And he had this ability to bring these people together to kind of give us this wide berth to be able to train with these really kind of legendary guys in different systems. So I had moved back to South Florida after being away for a while, closed my martial arts school. I was going through a divorce, had, seriously rebrought Kempo back into my life. I had never stopped, but, now I'm in a position where, I really needed that kindred spirit and brotherhood back. And I was talking to Ed Parker Jr. at dinner, and he asked me if I knew who Ken Herman was. And I said, no, I've never heard of him. And he said, well, he's kind of does that on purpose. He keeps himself, off the internet. And at the time, I was pretty prolific on KempoNet, Kempo Talk, Martial Talk, all those forums back in the day. I was all over those due to the nature of my job. When I would give students e-learnings to do, what am I going to do? Watch them do an e-learning? So I'm on forums, and I suppose I could say that
Oh,
because
I've
I'm
been there. Oh
retired.
no, I've been. Yeah, statute of limitations.
That's right. It's expired on me. But I was pretty prolific. I mean, thousands, and I was moderator on Kempo Talk, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, Ed Parker Jr. Was asking me if I knew this gentleman. I did not know him, and he set up an introduction for me. So I went and met him, and at the time I was a 5th degree, and he was a 6th. But he, and I'm thinking, well, I don't really know this guy, but Ed Parker Jr., spoke so highly of him, and he told me that he wrote all of the information portion of the Kempo cards. Ed Parker Jr. did the artwork, and they were business partners. And I don't know if they still are, but they may still be business partners with EPAKS, EPAKS.com is their site. And that Kempo cards are still for sale there and stuff. And the information side fascinated me. I was like, this guy really kind of knows this stuff at a deeper level than I felt like I did at the time, even being at the time an associate professor. So I went to one of his classes, and he, within 10 minutes, I could just see that this guy had an understanding far deeper than most of the people that I had run across and experienced in the art of American Kempo. And he had this knowledge and also the ability to make it work that I really wanted and desired. And I felt like, that this is what I had been missing in my journey. So I have been a student of his since then. He is still my instructor to this day. He promoted me over the years. Over the past 20 plus years, he promoted me to 7th and 8th. I was up through 6th through other people, but I've earned 7th and 8th degree through him. And it's again, people don't know him necessarily, but there are some people who do, and some of the first gen guys know him well. Brian Duffy even said to me, Master Brian Duffy, that if Ken Herman promoted you to whatever rank it is, you're that rank. Like he has this respect, this level of respect in the community. And he's written, probably 10, 15 books on Kempo now, the different forms, different topics, and just the level of knowledge he brings in. I want to say has to be as similar to Mr. Parker directly as you could get, just his understanding of the art itself. And I strive to be better and improve through him. And he's set up a path for me, which I give him all the credit in the world for doing, because a lot of instructors won't do that. He sat down with me and said, what are your goals in the art? And then he set out my journey with me. I told him that eventually I would like to get to 9th. I'm 8th now from 2023, again under him. And he had set the goals for 8th for me as well. I presented a thesis over a 90-minute period based on the Kempo knife that I designed and came up with, called the MKK1, Modern Kempo Knife #1, where I had kind of saw a need for potentially an everyday carry style blade that included concepts and principles within the design. They're hidden all over it. Some are obvious, some are for the Kempoist to seek and discover themselves, which is part of the way we like to do this in the art. And of course, I'll answer any questions on that if someone had, hey, does this mean this? And, I'll be happy to discuss it. But I presented this thesis, I defended this thesis amongst about 7 of my peers. I think everybody was probably professor level and up. Everybody at the end of the 90 minutes, I had to defend the thesis. And it was a full presentation where I've come up with this Kempo Codex, which is some symbolism that shows techniques within the Lance set, which is a new set that I've created. So it isn't the Form 7 or 8 that has the weapons in it. It's actually a set with the MKK1 knife. And if I teach you the codex and I teach you the symbolism, you don't need to ask me what the next movement is if I show you the symbol. You'll be able to look at the symbol and go, oh, okay, well, based on what he told me, this symbol means this execution and sequence of motion. So just like, I'm sure you're familiar with through your instruction and your journey that we have an alphabet in Kempo. We can then take this alphabet to create words. We can take words to create sentences and sentences to create paragraphs, etc., through the study of our system. This is the same thing. So it takes you from this ability to communicate using the knife And I also incorporate the Kempo Yantra, which Mr. Herman is also credited as creating. It's different than the universal pattern, although people will look at them and kind of get them a little confused because they are similar in their design. And I've had some recently, the last few days, I've posted some knife videos. And I debated on waiting to do this. I have the lance set complete. I don't want to put it out publicly yet, but I will. I put little bits and pieces of it within videos. If people pay attention, they can kind of see. And I've put the universal pattern up, or I'm sorry, the Kempo Yantra up, and I explained some of what I'm doing with the symbolism on the imagery. And I've gotten some public messages from people that really appreciate the blade flow and the blade work that I'm showing within this. And I've also gotten some private messages from some first gen guys who like to remain anonymous. And I've even, some have suggested that, hey, you should put this behind a paywall. You should not
Yeah.
necessarily. But, I don't see it like that. I see it as this is part of my contribution back to the system. Hopefully this far outlives me. And I will be more than happy to allow people to use it in their instruction. My only request with that is to give credit where it's due. Don't say that you created it if it's something that you picked up from me. And again, I'm not asking for any type of compensation in relationship to that. Just say, I picked, this is the lance set that Martin Seck created. Or this is based, that's more than enough for me. And this, so basically for my 9th, what he set out for me was this book based on the modern Kempo knife, in addition to the lance set, the codex, new Kempo terminology that have to deal with the blade. And this is going to be over the period of probably the next 6 years or so, because I'm not eligible. We don't do the every 3 or 5 year thing. It's where, you're in the master ranks at this point. And even he told me, hey, when you're moving from the professor to the master ranks, like it needs to be, you have to do something special. This is not just, one of these right here, that, okay, you've put in your time. Now, you put in your time, you gain 10 pounds. Now you're promoted, right? So you're joking, Kempo. And I lost 70 pounds last year, so I don't know if I have to go backwards in rank or what, but
yeah, to pull the stripes once you start losing.
Yeah. The guy Master Ken, the Emeridote, the parody of Kempo, made a joke about a Kempo picture with Grand Masters, but he said he wanted to show the picture, but the picture alone weighed over 1,000 pounds or something like that. So, unfortunately, we have that stigma. I think we're moving away from that now because my instructors fit, and look at Larry Tatum. He's he's been around for a long time. I don't know how old he is at this point, but he was a Vietnam, or he is a Vietnam veteran. He's been around a long time, and I'll tell you what, I've been hit by that guy. Recently, and I can tell you, he's fast, he hits hard, he has knowledge, and he kept himself in shape this whole time. So I think we're kind of hopefully moving away from that stigma of that. But again, I'm very proud of my current journey. I really, I see this kind of as something that I can potentially help, and if someone finds it useful and they want to use it, that's great. If they don't find it useful and they say, hey, you know what, I prefer Filipino knife work, fantastic. I'm not saying what I'm doing is better than anyone else. This is my personal journey. These are things that I've discovered through 50 years in the martial arts. And it's if I can help anyone, even if they look at it and they apply it to empty hand, looking at symbolism and go, you know what, that motion, empty hand, is here. And it could help their journey. And if I can inspire someone to do that, then I'm more than happy to do, that alone. They don't have to adopt my knife. They don't have to buy one of my Kempo knives. And in fact, I've got about a 1.5 year wait list right now. I make everything from scratch in shop myself. I forge it. I'm a trained blacksmith. And as I mentioned before, I was on the TV show Forged in Fire, that some folks might be familiar with. It's in syndication now. It's no longer being, it's new episodes aren't coming out. It's syndication. So every once in a while, I'll see myself on TV, and I wonder how I'll do this time on my episode. No spoilers. But
I like that.
something I can say like, hey, it's part of my journey. It was a great experience. It exposed me to a lot of the bladesmith world. As part of my writing of this book, I reached out to the Hibben family, and I'm sure most folks are familiar with who Gil Hibben is and his contribution not only in Kempo, but in the knife world. In fact, his thesis for one of his ranks in black belt under Mr. Parker was the Parker knife. So, it's kind of, I didn't do something unique in my thesis being something about a blade. He did it first, 60 years or 50 years before I did. But it's kind of homage to him. Without him, I don't know if I ever would have, even thought about bringing in something with the blade and unique thing. And a couple months ago, I was invited to take a week-long class at his home, at his shop, with his son, Wes and Derek, and Gil was there as well. And I got to not only make a Parker knife under his guidance, the Parker 1 blade, so kind of bringing it back to the beginning as part of my journey that I can then share in this up-and-coming book. And Derek's agreed to provide me with some photographs and things from the past that people have not seen yet, from Mr. Hibben's early journey and some of the things that he did. And I have full permission from their family to include this in the book. So that's going to be great. And also I've reached out to Mr. Pick, who knows me well, if you ask him about me. And he's also agreed to contribute some of his knife making journey. And he's a world-renowned blacksmith. And his knife is used in the military. And he has a hatchet that's also used by the military. And again, he's a Vietnam veteran. But he's agreed to provide information and things in the history section of my book, which is going to be in the beginning, obviously, because that's, the history is where it starts. So some really cool things. And the fact that I was able to go and be in this shop, and, how many people had been to this property over time. Huck was there. And when I was there, Huck had just passed on. And I've been blessed to have had a few seminars that I was able to train with Huck as well in Florida. So, to be on this property, and it's kind of funny, they had this homemade kind of Kempo dummy with arms and stuff, and it's just in the knife shop. And being a Kempo, I got to hit it. I got to go
of course.
up and hit it. So, we're in between, talking about, okay, well, when you grind this particular part of the knife, I want you to do it like this. And I'm paying attention, don't get me wrong, but I got to hit this thing. So I come up and I'm doing some technique on this thing, because I'm thinking to myself, how many Kempo people have hit this? I can't not be the guy that was here and didn't do it. So,
exactly.
Of course, Kempo, it came into the conversation because, Mr. Hibben himself is a high-ranking Kempoist under, I think Larry Tatum promoted him not too long ago. And both of his sons trained with Huck directly, including they trained with their father. So, what a blessed week I had to hear these stories, but to also be surrounded by not only fellow bladesmiths at a higher level than me, for sure, but also to just share that part, again, of my journey with these people. And then by proxy, I can share that with you and your listeners and of the eventual readers of the future book that will be hopefully coming out within the next few years. Good Lord willing, keeps me here to finish it.
Yeah, no, fingers crossed. I'm definitely looking forward to that. That is super exciting stuff. I really like that you are giving back I mean, I try and stay away from stay away from the controversy, but I mean, it's pretty rampant in the Kempo world, and not just the Kempo world, but martial arts world. But people chasing the rank, chasing the stripes, and all those things like that. And they're just, oh well, I've been in the art for this many years, so give me my bars, give me my stripes, that sort of thing, and without really giving back to the community. And then there's that other side of, oh well, I need to kind of hold on to this stuff. I train directly under Ed Parker, or I train directly under this person or that person, and all the things that I got from that, I want to hold on to it. And it's, no, I mean, we should, at least from my point of view, we should be giving back to the art, helping the art grow and spread and evolve, and shouldn't be so locked into, oh well, this is the way that we did it back in this day. And
Yeah.
things don't grow and don't evolve if we're just kind of holding on to it. I visualize it as was it the Lord of the Rings, and they got the little guy, and he's trying to hold on to the ring, and
Yeah.
it's like, no, don't just keep it to yourself, because if you do that, and we all one day are going to pass on, and that, if you don't want all this good stuff to just die with you. So uh
I
uh
mean, think of all the first gens that we've lost, within the past few years. I mean, Mr. Trejo, Mr. Tom Kelly, um, Mr. LaBounty, Bob White, recently Mr. Palonzo, Paul Mills. I mean, and I'm sure I'm missing some, but like that's all relatively. Some of those gentlemen, we lost just this year. So it's, and Huck, as well. I
mhm.
mentioned earlier. Think of all of the knowledge. Now, most of those gentlemen were willing to share it, and they did share it, which is fantastic for us. But maybe there's a piece that just didn't get shared or whatever. And these guys are all first generation legendary Kempo practitioners. So, and I don't put myself in that category. Don't get me wrong, by any stretch of the imagination. I will never wear a 10th degree, and you can mark my words on that. I believe that is reserved for greater men than myself. I'm more than content, putting on 9 at some point when my instructor deems that I have met the qualifications that he has set forward for me, or forth for me. If he decides to promote me to that level, then I will accept it from him. It's funny that brings me into every once in a while I have dreams about Mr. Parker, and in this dream I'd passed on, and I was in heaven, and Mr. Parker and I were talking, and he wanted to promote me to 9th degree, and here I am in heaven, and I said, "Sir, I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I can't accept that. I can only accept the rank from Mr. Ken Herman. I can't accept it from you." And I'm telling the founder, that like, sorry, I can't take the rank from you. So, and I actually told Mr. Herman that story, which is kind of funny when you think about it. You're like, come on, man, this, I ate too much dark chocolate before I went to bed or something, and I had these crazy dreams. But every once in a while, something like that will come up. But I found that one kind of funny. I'm thinking, you know, Ed Parker's senior wants to promote you. You say yes. You don't tell him no. But here I am in my dream, like, no, 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 no. But again, I see gentlemen like some of these people that I've trained with, and had the opportunity to experience their journey. They're wearing the 10, and they should wear it. And I'm more than happy to not. I'll be the guy, one back forever. Don't care. I've seen guys that were 2nd degree when I was 5th. Now they're 9th and 10th degree. And you know what? That's their journey. Don't begrudge them their personal journey. But that's just not me. That's not my path. And again, I just don't ever see. And I know this kind of follows the mindset of Mr. LeBounty, Mr. White, Mr. Sepulveda, Mr. Duffy, a lot of those guys did not want to go to 10 because they kind of felt the same way. But I think that people had kind of told them, like, look, if you guys don't move up, remember, they have hundreds of and potentially thousands of students underneath them. So what happens then? Like, no one can get 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. So then first degree is the high. So what happens when you're the head of these large groups? You kind of have to do it. And I was blessed to be there when those gentlemen were elevated to 10th degree. Mr. Sean Knight invited me out to that, and I blacksmithed some hooks for them to hang their final rank on, which was pretty cool. And so again, like Mr. White and Mr. Labounty are no longer with us from that group. And so it was an honor and a pleasure to be there with them during that part of their journey. And recently, on the 35th anniversary of Mr. Parker's passing, my instructor, Ken Herman, was promoted to 10th degree as well. So that was recent. And with the blessing of Ed Parker Jr., he even asked, said, hey, do you think it'd be okay if, it kind of in honor of your father, even though this is the day of his passing, would it be okay if how do you feel about it? And he said, I think that's great. He would have loved it. And my instructor is a first-generation black belt as well under Mr. Parker. He received first and second degree under him before Mr. Parker passed.
Very nice, very nice. I like it. I like it. So looking at my time, that's what I love about doing this show. Is just there's so much information to get to, and obviously we're not going to get to everything in the time that we have today. So as I say with many a guest, we're definitely going to have to do a part 2 and 3 and 4 because I mean we haven't really gotten deep into the knife stuff and the forged and fire stuff, and I'm sure the the listeners are like, hey, you didn't talk about that. Well, we will definitely get to that, but
Sure.
before we get into my lightning round here, I did want to make sure that we get to this item that I've been asking my guests lately, since there isn't a universal standard for what it means to be a black belt, what it means to earn a black belt. We kind of touched on, oh well, we have people that oh well, they got their black belt too fast, or whatever things that people want to complain about. I decided that I wanted to start asking the guest in your interpretation and in your thought process what it means to either earn a black belt, be a black belt, what the black belt signifies for you. Obviously there's no right or wrong answers, it's all personal to that person, but I would just like to kind of get a collection from all my guests about what a black belt means to you.
Sure. So, as we've talked about, and the listeners are going to know up to this point, I mean, I'm a little old school. So, I started, even though 1975, some of the first gen guys will go, that's not old school. I started in the 50s. But, for our modern practitioners and stuff, that probably, it may be a little old school. I started in 75. I didn't earn my black belt until 1988. Now, that might be a little long for folks. I would say an American Kempo black belt, doing diligence to the system, being able to show crisp motion, proper stances, understanding at I'll even just say a basic level, relationships in the Kempo system, not everything, but the ability to move well, putting in your time, maybe 6 to 8 years for a first degree, 6 years, we'll say, if you're a diligent practitioner, maybe training 3 hours a week under professional instruction, but then going home and continuing your practice, which a lot of people don't do. They think showing up to class 3 times a week gets me where I need to be. You need to take that information home and you need to put in more work. It's like going to school. You know, you're under instruction during class, but then there's an expectation, especially at a university level, where you go home and you're doing additional research or additional practice in some way. That has to be done. You can't just rely on your minimum amount to get through. So for me, a black belt needs to move crisp. They have to be of good character, like Funakoshi said. The essence of martial arts is about perfection of character. So you should strive to be better than you were the day before as a human, you know? So there's a physical side, there's a spiritual side for a martial artist. A fighter, maybe physical is enough. But for a martial artist, you have to have the mind, body, spirit connection, I believe. I think any practitioner you meet that is a true black belt or a higher level will come across in a way, after speaking with them with a short time, you'll be able to understand that, they have potentially achieved, or they're still working towards achieving, that perfection of character, and they're well-rounded in the other elements as well. So I could go on, but I'll stop there for that.
Great answer. I like the way that you frame that, and we'll definitely get into that more on our next chat. But we're gonna go ahead and move into our lightning round here. So I got a few little questions here as we head towards wrapping up our time for today. First
Okay.
one being, do you have a favorite technique?
Wow. So, sure, we're going to say parting wings.
Oh, very nice, very nice. I like that one. And one of, as I like to call the Kempo All Star techniques, techniques that seem to be in every version of Kempo, or at least from. So I got started in essentially the Tracy's version, and then I switched over to the Ed Parker's setup there, and techniques, the Thundering Hammers, Five Swords. They exist in both. So and those seem to be among the favorites of Kempo practitioners and non-Kempo practitioners. One of my previous guests, we were talking about something, and I just kind of offhandedly mentioned Five Swords, and he's like, "Oh, I know that," and he was not a Kempo person. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know Five Swords." He's like, "I teach it to my students." I was like, that's how beloved that technique is that
Yes.
even non-Kempo
Well,
people are teaching it.
for homework for you, look at Five Swords and look at Parting Wings, and study them a little bit, and then tell me the similarities that you see. Not now, offline. Look at them together, and you may already know some of the things I'm after with my question there, but I'll give you something back in the lightning round.
All right, very very nice. Homework for me. Yeah, very
Yeah.
nice, very nice. I will get on that. All right, so we're gonna move to the next question. Do you have a favorite form and/or set?
Form 4, probably, and I like blocking set 2. I would say both of those, and of course I have to say the Lance set, right, which I've created.
Of course, of course. Very nice. I like it.
So,
All right.
mhm.
All right. I think I'm going to know the answer to this next one, but we're going to ask it anyway. Do you have a favorite weapon?
Yeah, I would say definitely the everyday carry blade for sure.
Very nice. Very nice. I like it. All right. Next question. If there is anyone that you could train with, living or dead, fictional or non-fictional, besides Ed Parker, who would that be?
Ooh, fictional or non-fictional? So I'm gonna bring my geek nerd side out a little bit and say
Ooh, I like this.
Goku or Master Roshi.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Very nice. I like that. I think that's the first time anyone's ever used them. So
There you
that'll
go.
work. That'll
Well,
work. I like it.
my ex-wife used to call me Goku. She says, "All you do is eat and train. You're like Goku." I said, "I'll take it. Thank you. I appreciate
that.
that."
Sounds
In
like
fact,
a good life.
A friend of mine, an artist, drew a picture of Goku in like chalk for me in that medium, and it's actually hanging in my training area.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I like it. I like it. All right. So our final question: what is something that always motivates you to train, and or something that you'd like to put out there for others to motivate them to train? So I use the example of the movie Rocky Four, when he's out there in the snow running and chopping the wood and lifting the boulders, and the music's playing and stuff like that. Anytime I watch that scene, I'm ready to hit the mats, hit the academy, and get to work. So
Sure.
what is something like that for you, or something that you'd like to put out for the listeners?
I have to agree with you. I'm a sucker for training montages. I don't care what movie it is. I watched some movie about, dancing many years ago, and the training montages just got me pumped up to want to do something. Rocky, of course. But like No Retreat, No Surrender. With Jean Claude
Oh,
Van Damme
yes.
in his early years. The training montage. Just kind of gets you going without a doubt. So I would say one of the things that inspires me today in my late 50s is, I enjoy sharing the art. And so one of the things that motivates me to actually go out and do it, because I have everything on site here, is wanting to film and then potentially share that information with other people. So I'm not keeping it for myself. I'm going out there with a goal to let's film something, and if it's no good, we won't put it out, right? But if it's something that I feel worth sharing, even a 20-second clip like I did the other day of me doing some a spontaneous blade work using the Kempo Yantra symbolism to kind of go through a pattern. I've gotten a couple thousand views in a day on that. So, and some great feedback. Had no idea that anybody would even appreciate it. But why not put it out there? Yes, you're going to deal with some of the trolls, and I've had some troll comments as well. Oh, the Kempo jazz hands. And I'm thinking, you didn't watch the whole video, because at the end I talk about my personal journey and stuff, which is fine. You're going to have to deal with that. But you know what? If one person was inspired by it to continue their journey, or to maybe seek something additional out on their journey, then it was worth it.
Exactly, exactly. No, I agree 1,000,000% on that. Uh, Especially as I'm trying to make the move into doing some more videos and things like that. And of course, I get scared by the trolls and that sort of thing. But it,
Do
just
it. Do it.
inspiring
Put it out
one
there.
person is huge. I mean, I I've been doing this show a little over a year now, and I did get someone reach out to me, and they were like, "Oh, well, because of your show, that really inspired me to get back. Yeah, done Kempo as a young person, and he was kind of dipping his toes into getting back. He had a kind of a while where he wasn't training, and he decided he was going to get back into it, and then he came across the show, and he was like, oh, well, this really kind of boosted me to get back into training now. And so uh that was just a huge thing for me. I'm like, oh, well, I've got dozens of listeners, and but if one person is getting
You're
something
doing
out of
it.
it, then
Yeah.
we're doing well. So I like it.
You're adding value to your journey and everyone else's. So good job. Kudos to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we are at our final piece of business for today, and that is the shameless self promotion. So you can plug anything that you want, or if there's anything else that you wanted to get out there that we didn't cover, you now have the floor, and then we will close it out from there.
Thank you so much for that. I would just say I would love a follow, a like, a subscribe. I'm on YouTube and I'm on Instagram currently, and Facebook, but it's at Martin Seck usually, or Martin Seck Official, MartinS as in Sam, ECK. And if you type in the word Kempo after it, you're going to find me. So YouTube and Instagram, a follow would be fantastic. I'm always receptive to constructive criticism and feedback. I can learn from you as well. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on and just share your story. Obviously, we're definitely going to have to do another one or two or 12 down the road. And yeah, I'm excited to get this out for everyone to hear and possibly view. And we'll close out our time for today, but we will keep following what you're doing, and we'll just keep the Kempo goodness flowing.
And for the viewers, we'll give them the salute here, and to you as well.
Thank you for listening to My Empty Hands. If you enjoyed the show, please share it with a friend. If you didn't enjoy it, please share it with an enemy. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you would like to recommend a guest for the show, please email me at podcast@talkingkempo.com. Thank you.